Hello everyone, this is Jason White. Welcome to the highlights package for round 3 of our 1965 F1 series, coming to you from Clermont-Ferrand, or to be more accurate, Circuit de Charade. This is one of the more diabolical circuits we'll be visiting on the 1965 schedule, and there it is. Back and forth, up and down, left and right, 8 kilometers. Very, very challenging for both the driver and the car. We'll be going for 40 laps, or a little over 322 kilometers. Most of the way around, you have berms guarding the edge of the course. You do not want to touch those, or you will end up in the pits needing repairs to your suspension. Let's take a look at the point standings going into today's race. Nicholas Kirsten is in the lead with 10 points. Giovanni Centorami is in second with 9 points. Then there's a tie for third between Tim Hille and John Thiem with 6 points each, and then Wilkes and David Watman are tied for fifth with 5 points apiece. In the manufacturer's points, Brabham Climax is in the lead with 13 points. Ferrari is in second with 11. Cooper Climax in third with 6. Lotus Climax in fourth with 5. Lotus BRM in fifth with 4 points, and then BRM is in sixth with 1 point. There is the point scheme for you one more time. Thankfully, we don't have to do the drop scores just yet. You know how much I love doing the drop score mental math. Coming up at ISO, the fourth round in this series, the Belgian Grand Prix at the original Spa-Francorchamps circuit, the long one. This will be Sunday, March 1st. The race will start at 2000 CET, and there will be a highlights package in the days to follow. Trivia question for you to ponder. Who won the last French Grand Prix held on the Charade circuit in 1972? Was it A, Denny Hulme, B, Jackie Stewart, or was it C, Emerson Fittipaldi? We'll have the answer for you later on in this highlights package. All right, so let's take a look at the grid. On the pole is Tim Hille in his privateer Ferrari, number 24, with a time of 3 minutes, 14.825 seconds. Alongside him is the first of the factory Ferraris in the hands of Giovanni Centorami with a time of 3:15.120, and all Ferrari front row. It'll be interesting to see who gets the upper hand once the race starts. The next row is all Cooper Climax, and we have Cezarius Slipinski in the first car, number 10, starting in third, again with that tank on the right-hand side, but not on the left-hand side. Curious design. The other Cooper Climax is in the hands of John Thiem. There it is. Car number 9. Note that the 9 is way offset there on that white dot. Not sure why. Maybe just so it's easier to read as they come by. And these two Cooper Climaxes should be very nimble on this circuit. Speaking of nimble, here's the first of the Lotus Climax entries in the hands of David Watman. This was the Jim Clark entry, if I'm not mistaken. And David's had some good results so far in this series. Alongside him is going to be David Saber in the first of the BRMs. And you can tell that it's Graham Hill because he has the dark helmet there with the rowing stripes. Going to the next row, we have the first Brabham, and this is in the hands of Brian Janik from Detroit, Michigan. He's got the classic green and gold livery. Interesting that he's the top Brabham on the grid. Normally we'd think it'd be Grant Riddall, but we'll explain that in a little bit. And alongside Brian is Nicholas Kirsten, starting in 8th in his privateer Brabham, the Monaco Grand Prix winner, looking to have another excellent race here at Circuit de Charade. Starting in 9th, we have Ruben Fernandez in the first of the Reg Parnell entries, car number 21. Again, good to see a Lotus BRM this far up on the grid. And alongside Ruben, to close out the top 10, we have Juha Boss, and he is in the second BRM, the one piloted in 65 by Jackie Stewart. So a pretty varied top 10 to start this race. And lots of different cars up there. We'll see which ones fare the best here. Let's look at the rest of the grid. Gabriel Del Piccolo starts 11th. Ray Riddall starts 12th. Anders Nilsson 13th. And Adam Hackman in his privateer entry in 14th place. 15th, Richard Wilkes driving for Ferrari. 16th, August Watring for Brabham. Michael Drexler in 17th for Honda. And then Rob Swindell's in 18th for Scuderia Centro Sud. Wilmer Janssen makes a one-off appearance in 19th, Peter Hlavec in 20th, Andreas Vittoria in 21st, and yours truly in 22nd for Reg Parnell. 23rd, Jonathan Esserklint. 24th, Bruno Chacon in the second Honda. 25th, Christian Dauger, and Sam Smith in 26th from Down Under. Going to the last two rows, Gerard Rion in 27th, Jules Bouchard in 28th, and Grant Riddall at 29th. He actually didn't post a time because he was having issues with his computer. Added to the back of the grid, Alberto Aquino and Simon Wattman. All right, so 31 cars ready to go, 40 laps in front of them. Tim Hilla on the right, Centorami on the left, and the race is underway. Looks like a dead heat with the Ferraris as they go to the first turn. Curious, there's Adam Hackman actually in the pit lane as the cars peel away. Now they're heading up the hill, and it appears to me that, yes, it is Tim Hilla who's in the lead, Centorami in second. One of the Cooper Climax entries is in third as everybody sprints up the hill on lap one. The view from Centorami's car looking at the leader, Tim Hilla. Remember, you can tell Tim Hilla's car from the factory Ferraris because his has the blue and white stripe. This is a very, very challenging section here, going back and forth with berms on either side. It's essentially a one-groove racetrack here. Now we're coming to the first of the hairpin turns. You've got to hit your marks here. Second gear through here and then accelerate out. Now into a section that really is taken in third gear most of the way around, and you're just trying to hit the apexes the whole way through. If you mess up on one of them, you're basically messed up in the next two or three. And you're running downhill here. You got to make sure that you watch your closing distance because it could be different for different cars. There's Tim letting the rear end hang out a little bit as he continues in the lead. We were warned to start this race that you're not going to win it on the first turn, first lap, so definitely take it easy, and everybody's doing their best to make sure that they have a clean start. Now heading up a rather quick hill here is Tim Hilla, then back to the left. Everyone in good trim so far. Don't see any issues for anybody here so far. You can see how much elevation change there is on this track. You're either going sharply uphill or downhill for a great deal of this circuit. Now heading to a very treacherous part where you have to downshift at the end of this series of turns. It's very quick through here, and you have to be right next to the berms to get through here as quickly as possible. Heading up a short hill. We're actually almost done with lap number one, believe it or not. Heading down towards a very characteristic second gear hairpin. Some people might take this in third gear, the hairpin that's coming up here. There's David Wattman. He's hanging on in his factory Lotus. Heading out of the second hairpin now, and this takes you up towards the last turns, heading to the start-finish area. Riding on board with David Wattman now, his Lotus. You can see the top three cars just ahead of him there. A left-hander here, and then it'll take you to the last right-hand corner. And that completes the lap. So everybody looking really good to start this race. Keeping things clean and watching each other very closely, making sure that nobody runs up on anybody else. This is lap 5. Tim Hilla leading, but there goes Centorami around him. Actually runs a bit wide. Hilla up alongside him, trying to challenge and get the lead back, but it appears that kind of blind here actually because of the trees, but there is Centorami on the inside, and he takes the lead from Tim Hilla. You can see that it's such a serpentine course here. There's very little time to rest. Lap number 7. This is Juha Boss. in his BRM, and he runs a little bit wide here and just gets his tires on the dirt there. Thankfully, though, none of those objects were solid, and here he goes trying to get back on the circuit. There he goes. It looks like he didn't have any damage there. Was able to continue. But a little bit later, he was in 11th place, and he just runs a bit wide, and this time he hits something solid off in the trees, and that's the end for Juha, unfortunately. Also on the same lap, this is John Team running up on David Wattman here, attempting to overtake him for 4th place. Gets up alongside here, going into the hairpin, outbreaks. David Wattman does an excellent job there. Textbook pass as they head up the hill to the next hairpin. Very good driving there by John Team. Lap number 8. This is Cezariusz Lipinski running on his own in 3rd place. He runs up into this slow speed section, and this is a pattern we're going to see repeated. Oh my goodness, I'm glad this is a sim and not real life. Unfortunately, Cezariusz out of the race there. Lap number 9. This is Del Piccolo, and he's being followed by Grant Riddall. This is a battle for 9th place. Remember that Grant Riddall started at the very back of the field because of his computer issues during qualifying. Here's Del Piccolo trying to defend his position on the inside, but there goes Grant. And he's going to overtake a lot of people on this section of the track. He seems really strong here as we peer through the greenery at Grant, as he's just overtaken Del Piccolo for 5th. Lap 11. Here is Tim Hilla. This is back at the front, and he's going to take another shot at Centorami here as they head into a right-hander. Looks like he's got the job done. Yes, he does. So Hilla goes back into the lead. Oof, lots of trees there. Okay, lap number 12. This is Janik. He's following Kirsten, who is in 6th place. And look, Kirsten runs a little bit onto the dirt there, and that's all that it took for Janik to get ahead. Another situation where you take advantage of OPP, other people's problems. And also on lap number 12, this is Ruben Fernandez. He's running 12th at the time, comes into this slow speed section. You're coming in here with such steam that it's very easy to run up on the berm like this, and unfortunately he's beached the car. But he did eventually get the car off of the berm. It took him some time, but he lost a lot of positions. He went all the way down to 16th place, but here he's finally able to get the car free and back into the race. There he goes. And hopefully the car hasn't been overheated too much by sitting still like that. That's a genuine danger. Lap number 14. This is Anders, and he is in 8th place, and you see behind him there, that is Grant Riddall, and you see right there, Anders had a little bit of a miscue, and again, that's all it takes, and Grant comes right by into 8th place. Grant continues his march up through the field. Very impressive. Ooh, gets a little bit loose there, but has the car under control. Also on lap 14, this is rather curious. I'm not sure what happened here, but Adam goes for a ride in the greenery for some reason. Maybe he was distracted by something. And in the same lap here, this is on board with Bruno Chacon, and just ahead of him is his teammate Drexler. Now watch this. Coming up through this very fast section, and oh my goodness, parts flying, and Bruno actually runs off the track trying to avoid his teammate, but thankfully doesn't incur any damage. Does a good job of avoiding the incident, continues on. Too bad for Michael Drexler. He had a very good qualifying time in his Honda. Now back to the leaders again, lap 16. Giovanni following Tim Hilla here. Wants to get back in the lead. And look at this. He's coming up the inside. Having a look. Tim is still in front at this point. But there, Giovanni slips up the inside, and he's got it done. Giovanni into the lead, driving his factory Ferrari. Tim back to second as they break for this treacherous bit here that's caught some people out so far in the race. Good scrap between these two. Also on lap 16, we're back with Grant Riddall again. And this is Nicholas Kirsten. This is a battle for 7th place. And again, he just has a great deal of pull going up this hill. Now look, he places the car on the outside of Kirsten because he knows that coming up next, there is a left-hand turn, and he's in the right place at the right time. Very skillful driving by Grant Riddall. Takes Nicholas Kirsten there for 7th place. Also on lap 16, this is Jonathan Asserclint, and again, a graphic demonstration here of what happens when you're coming into this slow speed section. If you come in with too much steam, this is what happens. You end up on the berm. And unfortunately for Jonathan, in this case, he was not able to get it off the berm. Ruben was lucky he was able to earlier, but not so lucky for Jonathan, unfortunately. Lap 17, back with Grant Riddall again. His march through the field continues, and that is Janik just ahead of him, his teammate. And look at how he's able to just pull him on the straight here, and this is going uphill. And there's Janik on the inside trying to hold his position, but once again, Grant's got this move down. He comes out of the right-hander there, now into the left-hander. He's in the right place on the outside, coming out of that turn. He's then on the inside for the next turn. Very, very well done. Excellent move by Grant Riddall. Now here's Wilkes on lap 18. Curious to see him so far down the grid. I don't know that he had that much practice for this race, but here he is trying to advance through the field at his own pace, and it just runs a bit too wide there, picks up the berm, and it sends him off. And that is probably the most solid bush I've ever seen. He just took off a wheel. Anyway, lap number 21, and here comes Grant again. This time he passes David Watman going into the right-hander here. That one was very easy for him. He just swept by on the outside, didn't need any kind of trickery on the next turn. Very, very good job by Grant once again. Remember, having started at the very back of the field. This is Nilsson on lap 22. He's running 9th right now. Whoa, lots of opposite lock there. Heading up the hill here. He's trying to, not quite sure who that is ahead of him, but just runs up on the berm there, and that's all it takes. Spun the car out, loses the engine. Very fortunate. The number 29 car there just got by. Now we're on lap 29, and this is David Saber trying to defend himself against Grant, but look what happens here. He runs up on the berm, and Grant contacts him there. Obviously not intentional, just the closing rate changed so quickly. But good job for David here. He's able to get back on the track without losing too much time, and hopefully his car isn't damaged from that. This is lap number 35, and this is Gerard Riant, actually, taking a look a little further down the order here, and a little bit of a miscue there from Jules Bouchard, and he's able to take him for 16th place there. Very opportunistic. Gerard Riant driving the Scuderia Centro Sud entry, number 27. Here's Bouchard trying to get the position back. He goes up the inside, but Gerard's got him covered there as the line takes it through the hairpin. And then just one lap later, lap 36, here comes Jules Bouchard up the hill. That's Gerard just ahead of him there. He's going to take him for 16th again. Although, here's Gerard trying to defend himself on the outside. But I think, yeah, Bouchard able to get ahead just before they get to the next turn. Nice little scrap between these two. All right, lap 37. This is Grant Riddall. He's got one more position he's going to grab here. He takes Team for third place. He's going up the outside. We've seen this before. Let's see what happens when they go into the turn. Team tries to fight back on the inside there, but just can't quite get it done. Grant is too powerful on this part of the circuit going uphill. That car has a lot of grunt, and he places the car really well in order to be able to take the position. Lap number 38. This is Sabre, and he has a good battle going on here with Kirsten, actually. But unfortunately, his BRM engine expires. That's the difficult part of this race. If you've pushed the car to the limit, you come to the last laps, and all of your effort goes up in smoke, literally. And in the case of David, their flame as well. Now this is lap number 39. And here's Janik, actually makes a miscue here, and he's overtaken by Del Piccolo, but there's a little bit of contact there. And I think, here comes, oh goodness, Janik comes back, tries to get the position, but I think he actually damaged his car there. Yeah, something went wrong here because he just runs right off the track. That's too bad because he was in 7th at the time, possibly in a points-paying position. Now we're on to the final lap of the race. Giovanni Centorami in the lead. He's free and clear of Tim Hill at this point. Really good scrap between those two, but in the end, Centorami established his dominance for the rest of the race. It's pretty much smooth sailing from that point on as he comes to the last few turns on the circuit, getting ready to collect his second win of the year. His first win came in the South African Grand Prix. DNF'd at Monaco early on, and I'm sure this feels really good to get back in the beam and back on the top spot in the podium. Out of the last turn, onto the start-finish straight, and there it is. Giovanni Centorami wins the Grand Prix of France at Circuit de Charade. I have no idea why those people are standing out there. Glenn Dix and relatives, maybe? Second goes to Tim Hilla, and he goes right off the track as he crosses the line. And here it comes Grant Riddall, who's had a fantastic race. Very back of the grid, all the way up to the last spot in the podium. That speaks volumes about his skills and how well he's meshing with this car. And right behind him there, that is John Team, who he overtook a little bit. So kudos to John. He didn't let Grant get away. And the two of them are going to cross the line almost right together. Grant picking up 4 points here for his third place. John is going to be fourth, picking up 3 points as they come to the last corner on the grid. Or where the grid is, excuse me. Around the corner. And the race is over for these two gentlemen. Next to come to the finish line is going to be David Wattman in his Lotus Climax. He's in fifth. Another great drive for David. Coming up the hill here. One more hairpin to go. We're on board with him now. It is so difficult to maintain concentration on a track like this where it's just back and forth, up and down. And it's a long track too, so you have to really remember where you are. Good training for the Nürburgring, this track, which is definitely going to be one of the most challenging races we have in this calendar. So if you can survive here, it's probably a good dress rehearsal for the Nürburgring. Here it comes David Wattman to take 5th place. Crosses the line. And not far behind him, this is Nicholas Kirsten. And Kirsten is going to take the last points-paying position in 6th. 1 point for his privateer entry. There he is. And rather controversially, I should say, in 7th is going to be Gabriel Del Piccolo. Had that brush up with Brian Janik earlier, which led to his retirement. I'm sure that it's not the way either of them wanted to finish the race, but here comes Del Piccolo. Not a points-paying position, but still shows that he's really good in these cars, driving that privateer entry. qualified in 11th for this race, and he qualified 10th for the other two races. So he's got a good qualifying record, too. Out of the last turn, here comes Del Piccolo to finish in 7th. And then here's Ray Radal. We didn't see much of him in this highlights package, but he is going to finish in 8th, up 4 places from where he started, which is a great result on a track like this. So a good day for the Lotus team in general. And now we have a look at the cars that probably already crossed the line. Yeah, here is Peter Hlavic 9th. Andreas Vittoria finishes in 10th. And that's Janik in 11th, but out of the race. 12th was Bruno Chacon for Honda. 13th, Rob Swindells. 14th, Jules Bouchard. And then the last car running here was Gerard Rion for Scuderia Centro Sud. There he is. All right, so let's take a look at the points after round number 3. Giovanni Centrami in the lead with 18 points. Tim Hillett in second with 12 points. Third is Nicholas Kirsten with 11 points. Fourth, John Team with 9 points. Fifth, Grant Radal with 8 points. And then David Wattman in sixth with 7 points. Now we go to the manufacturer's points. Ferrari in front with 20. Brabham Climax in second with 17. Cooper Climax in third with 9. Lotus Climax in fourth with 7. Lotus BRM in fifth with 4. And then BRM still there in sixth with 1 point. Trivia question for you. Who won the last French Grand Prix held on the Charade circuit in 72? Was it A, Denny Hulme, B, Jackie Stewart, or was it C, Emerson Fittipaldi? Time is up. 3 famous names there, and if you guessed Sir Jackie Stewart, you are correct. That was a middle year for him. His championship years were 71 and 73. So it was kind of a middle year for him there. All right, coming up at ISO, once again, we have the Grand Prix of Belgium on the fabulous original Spa-Francorchamps circuit, round 4 of 10. Sunday, March 1st, race starts at 2000 CET, and then the highlights package will air in the days to follow. All right, so thanks so much for watching the highlights for round 3 of our 1965 series, the French Grand Prix. Hope to see you on our next highlights package. Everybody take care and be safe.